is Factual Chat with Debby. And today on Factual Chat with Debby, we're looking comprehensively at something I choose to call a long overdue issue that has prevailed and we have kept quiet about it. It is the issue of the Nigerian police parading suspected criminals. What I mean by parading is there's a press conference, people are clustered, this person is paraded, and bear it in mind that this person is only suspected, has not been charged to court, has not been convicted yet. So of course, in the eyes of the law, this person stands innocent until there is a conviction. Now today, I will take you to look at this matter with me. First of all, let's see a video.
Today, we will be talking to you specifically of some of the achievements made by the STS, of course, whose office is domiciled right here in this compound.
On the 27th of May, my mom called me that I should come to Bayelsa based on the lockdown. I'm schooling in North FC Kano. Because of the lockdown, she asked me to come to Bayelsa. Then, when I'm staying with Eliana Yowe based on my school, and her husband told me that when I'm coming to Bayelsa, she will give me half bag of rice to take to my mother. I said no problem. And he sent me my transport. That is 19,000 naira that day. Then my mom said she entered road on Friday. That is, they open roads on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday in Kano. When I get to the park, they told me that the bag is heavy. And then I called my auntie, what do you put inside the bag? They said the bag is heavy. Then I told them to, okay, if it's so, to call the storage shop, people should open the bag and check. When they checked, they saw the ammunition, they brought out the ammunition. Even I was the first person I was shout Jesus. Then I was about to make phone call to call her again. Then they took my phone, they arrested me.
Yes, sir. For 7 years, which I married my husband, this has never happened. And right now I'm a victim. And my only regret is that because of trust, I did not check the content of it.
If favor reach Bayelsa, then the parents will come and collect the half bag of rice. From me.
Did you know it contained ammunition?
No, I don't know. He
okay.
only told me that it's half bag of rice.
Once.
You just watched that video with me now. So I guess you understand why we're talking about this today. I'm not saying she's innocent. No. She can eventually be guilty, yes. But that's not the issue. It's up to a court of law to decide whether she is innocent or not. Imagine if eventually she turns out to be innocent. After such humiliation, how would she survive it? This is just one out of millions of cases like this. There are people who have had to relocate from Nigeria after they've been paraded and found innocent of the crime they were accused of. And the thing about it is, when it is time to acquit them in court, the press do not gather. So nobody knows when the matter dies off. Today, we'll be looking at this matter holistically. We will be talking to the Nigerian Bar Association. We'll also be talking to some legal luminaries. We will talk to victims as well. Together, we will look at this matter. It's something that needs to be attended to. Join me on Factual Chat with Debby as we do this together.
It is no longer news that the Nigerian police has continued to be involved in acts that sometimes infringe on the fundamental human rights of citizens of Nigeria. There has been several outcry of torture to extract information and parading of suspects for different offenses. And this is usually done before newsmen who have a field day interviewing these persons with their faces clearly seen.
Although police say these suspects have confessed to the crime, there is an argument as to who among them actually carried out the act.
On my way to this Aziz, I saw him at that extreme. He was packaging something, like I think someone was packing the waste bin, the black waste bin. So he said, you go inside, go inside, go chill out inside, and he's coming to start to walk. Then after I asked, what are you doing close to the soccer way? He said he wanted to change chamber. I overheard that too. He said, okay, I went inside. And I went inside the room. In the bath where they do take baths, I saw a spit of blood.
Section 34 of the Nigeria Constitution, subsection 1A, enshrines that the dignity of human beings should apply and that humans should not be degraded publicly or privately. However, the Nigerian police has defended this, saying that there is no exact act prohibiting the parading of suspects, thereby they do not contravene any provisions of the Constitution.
Well, I believe that the police does it to show the public that they are working, that they are alive to their responsibilities. You know, when notorious crimes, or we say these crimes that give us cause for concern, are topical in the minds of people, the police needs to establish to us that they are working and that they are apprehending those criminal suspects. Criminal suspects for a variety of offenses, particularly the ones that worry society: kidnapping, cultism, murder, armed robbery. You remember the famous Menace and the likes, who were terrorizing Nigeria in those days. So the police, for obvious reasons, would like to know, the public to know that they are working and that they are apprehending suspects involved in those criminals. You remember the famous kidnapper in Lagos? I've forgotten his name now. Evans. So the police needs to do that. Even if you look at international televisions, when the FBI or the state police in New York or California apprehends a notorious suspect, they want to show that they have arrested somebody. But it should only stop there. They have a limit. I believe that we have issues. The Bar Association has issues. Human rights activists have issues with parading suspects. Just because you apprehended a suspect, you shouldn't parade him.
Police do that to get credit, to get attention, to moral booster, their ego booster, to tell Nigerians that they are working. That's just a simple answer to why police parade people. Whether the people so paraded, whether they get conviction is another issue altogether. But the truth is that they do that to get attention, to get credit, to be applauded, to be praised and all that. That's why the police do that.
Look at this and decide if this is not degrading enough. Even though this particular suspect is insisting she knows nothing about the accusation, the police officer already is passing judgment.
On her t-shirt, saying good things take time. But this is exactly what she failed to realize in going this way, a very short but dangerous course towards making money. It is ironical that right on her body, she is actually sending the very message that we are sending today. That it takes time to rise to the top. It takes time to make money. It takes time and hard work to become successful. How I wish Pray had hearkened to the very advice that she is sending to us by wearing this t-shirt and telling us that good things take time.
I would say it is not even proper to describe such a person as an accused person, because at the stage where they are parading some of these suspects that they have arrested, they are not even accused persons, because a proper charge has not been drawn up and filed in court. It is only when a charge is filed in court, when a suspect is arraigned before a court, that you can say he is an accused person. At the stage where no charge has been preferred and no person has been arraigned before a court of law, the person still remains a suspect. Suspect. And this is where we take issue. Do not parade suspects, unduly and indiscriminately, because some of them at the point of arrest may never become accused persons. So this is where we take issue. So justified to an extent to show that we've arrested somebody, but do not parade persons. They parade sometimes with cache of arms. They recovered these from these people, they recovered that, and so on and so forth. All those are part of the investigation. And until the investigation is concluded and you have arraigned a man before a court of law, you should preserve his fundamental rights of freedom from degrading and inhuman treatment. Everybody should be made aware of his or her civil rights and liabilities. And there is in Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria what we call fundamental rights, one of which is freedom from discrimination, inhuman treatment, one of which is a guarantee of a fair trial, a fair hearing. You follow? And there is also the presumption of innocence, all guaranteed by the Constitution. So I think that each case should be looked at on its own particular merits before you begin to pass a value judgment for or against what has been done. This is my position on this.
We have statutes, we have case law that have said you don't parade suspects. Several. I've gotten several. We have gone to court. Even this Evans case, it was mentioned. It was mentioned during Evans case. Go and read Evans case. This alleged billionaire kidnapper that is ongoing right now. Go and read the Gracious West, the one that was alleged to have killed several women in Rivers State. The judges have said this several times, but the police will they hear? All other organizations like the same day we talked about the issue of that the people that smuggled ammunition in a half bag of rice. That same day there was another report from Enugu where the civil defense people arrested some person that broke up pipeline. They didn't show their faces in the same report, in the same news that same day. They hid their faces, they masked their faces. They didn't show them. And I only saw the commandant of Enugu sector of civil defense corps, and he was saying that they are going to have their day in court. Why don't they emulate EFCC? Why don't they emulate the army? Why don't they emulate the ICPC? It's just that police wants to get cheap popularity. That's just the secret. Cheap.
I am against it as a lawyer because the intention, I've not been able to come to terms with the intention of parading suspected criminals. What do they want to achieve? Because Section 36 of Section 5 of our Constitution presumes everyone charged with a crime to be innocent. So what is the essence? And if the Constitution is interpreted liberally, it means that parading them, showing them to the public, you have already convicted them.
Can this act of parading suspects ever stop? If yes, what are the steps needed to stop this dehumanizing act? As according to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a man is innocent until found guilty by a court of law.
The Nigerian Bar Association has a civil and a human rights desk under the chairmanship of the first vice president of the association. And at the branches of the Nigerian Bar Association, human rights is under the direct portfolio of the vice chairman of every branch. In recent times, we've called for a lot of us and the association itself to be proactive in the defense of human rights, defense of fundamental rights. I'm aware that some cases have gone to court. I'm aware that some pronouncements have been made by even courts of law that these practices are wrongful. I'm aware that Even before courts, direct complaints have been made to the judges and magistrates. I'm also aware that when we do visit the Commissioner of Police or the Inspector General of Police, we usually make this point that everybody who is accused of an offense ought to be taken before a court of law. And it is only when the person appears in court that TV cameras, if they are permitted by the court, news journalists and press crews can be allowed to record the proceedings. But until that is done, everybody remains what we would say a suspect, and his rights and interests need to be protected. So I would like a situation where the Nigerian Bar Association would be more proactive. All other human rights organizations and civil society organizations should also be proactive in this matter, so that, as you say, a definite pronouncement be made by our superior courts in this country, in the hope that this would put a stop to these abuses that are sometimes being committed by the law enforcement agencies.
Human rights is attached to individuals, and it is that individual that enforces that right. Those individuals can approach MBA, and that is why we will be engaging in public enlightenment. Let people know their rights. Complain. Let the issue be that, look, my right has been violated. The problem is that I don't have the wherewithal to enforce my rights. MBA will come in under their pro bono system, and not that, they slapped somebody. MBA saw it on the television or anywhere, and MBA, Nigerian Bar Association against Nigerian police. No, it won't work like that, because the court will say, where is your local standard?
Please respect human rights. And in recent times, even the police itself, from the IG's office right down to the state commissioners of police, they have established what they call human rights desk. They even have officers they designate as OC human rights. They have all those squads. But you see, most times our laws, our practices, our due process procedures are observed in breach. They set up all these squads, including anti-robbery, including anti-kidnapping, including anti-cultism. What you see is unfortunate, because instead of doing the work that they should do, they are now using their positions in those squads to intimidate, sometimes to terrorize citizens of this country. I had a case recently where a young man was carried on his relationship with his girlfriend, and then some other person went and reported that he's a kidnapper. At the end of the day, they detained the man for about 10 days, and when I wrote a letter to the anti-kidnap squad, they were quick to rush the man to court. What did they charge him for? Not for kidnapping or being in a kidnapping squad, group. They charged him for raping the girl, and claimed that the girl that was the alleged victim who had been abducted by him. The girl and the father were in court. They were in the police station. The girl said, this man is my boyfriend. The father said, yes, I know them. Their boyfriend, I've been wanting her to focus on her studies. Yet the police rushed that young man who was first originally arrested for kidnapping or being involved in kidnap activities, just to wash their hands of the matter. So sometimes these squads in the police, we like to say to the Commissioner of Police, the Inspector General of Police, ask your men, ask your officers to respect the fundamental rights of the citizens of this country.
Though we have some adhering to this practice, which is to cover the face of the suspect who is accused, the Nigerian police is still indulging in the parading of suspects.
Watch CNN, watch Al Jazeera, watch those international media. Anytime they are doing, you won't see them show the face of the person. They will never, or their witnesses, they will never do that. They will even bring in a double for the person. They won't bring the real person. Even when they are showing criminals in Guantanamo Bay, they won't show their faces. They don't show their faces.
Do Nigerians know that this contravenes their human rights?
I strongly believe the parading of suspects or alleged criminals by the police is wrong, in the sense that I'm not a legal practitioner, but I strongly believe that there are legal implications to such acts by the police. And one thing it does lead to is trial by media. And once someone is paraded on the media, both TV, whatever the case might be, even on social media, he's already perceived to be a criminal, especially when he's being forced to talk about the crime without even legal representation. And in my opinion, I strongly believe that suspects or persons paraded by the police do have a legal right to sue. And the only way this will act as a deterrent to police if they are found guilty by a competent court of a court of competent jurisdiction. That's the way I see it. It is wrong. The job of the police is to build a case against a suspect, not to judge a suspect. It doesn't matter if they caught the criminal red-handed. Their job is not to judge. That is for the judiciary. Their job is to make the necessary arrest based on credible evidence and present in the court and let the court do its work. So it is wrong, it is barbaric, it's an abuse of office, and it's also an abuse of a victim's rights, in my own opinion.
Okay, so I will say that the question for me, I look at it from two angles, two different points of view. So I can't say yes categorically or no categorically. I'll look at it from the angle of one, when the law enforcement makes an arrest and parades the suspects, they didn't say, they say these are suspected unravel, suspected kidnappers. They are suspects at the end of the day. They are going to be charged to court. One, I would say it infringes on the person's public perception. You have already battered the person's image in the public, and if for any reason it ends up that the person is not guilty, a lot of the people will not, even be informed that that person that they said was a criminal, that your neighbor that was arrested the other day and was paraded and was called a kidnapper, that they have judged the case, and the case is no longer the case of kidnapping, that it was false alarm, it was wrong identity, it was wrong information, Nobody comes to say that. What you might hear in public in our Nigeria that we know is they don't pay money. They have bailed, they have spent money, they have paid money to bring him out. The stigma remains. This person is a kidnapper. This person is a criminal. This person did this. This person did that. This stigma hardly ever goes away. But that is what happens. It happens with even normal accusation. When you go and spread rumors about somebody, and when the thing will be corrected, the person will not be there. So I see it's in that same light. So going from that point of view, I think it is not right for the police not to have allowed the course of trial to go, and the person given the right, the privilege, the opportunity to defend his or herself, and we have gone to the public to state that this is what happened, except in the case where people on their own make public confessions of their crime at the scene of arrest, So in those kind of cases, so one, yes, I would say it is a dent on the person's image, because one is assumed to be innocent until proven guilty. So when you have not proven the person guilty, the person should remain innocent. But then On the other hand, I also think that it's also a way to allow the public follow the activities of the law enforcement. See, if you live in an environment where armed robbers terrorize, kidnappers terrorize, a lot of crime happens, and you hear one day that the police have made some arrests of people, you really want to know who they are. Not minding whether they have been tried or not, you really want to know. What that does to you is that it instills some kind of confidence on the security apparatus of the environment, the state, the area where you are. You begin to have confidence, okay, so they just caught some people, those people that terrorized the area have been arrested, they were even paraded, we saw them. And that it also gives you an opportunity to follow up with the police.
I think it is wrong for the police force to parade suspects. For one, I think it's against human rights. And two, look at it this way. Now, how sure are you that the court is going to condemn these persons you're parading? Eventually, if they get justice from the court and they were discharged and acquitted, what becomes of their reputation in the society afterwards? Will the media be present at the court when the court pronounced them not guilty? Imagine I was paraded, and in a few years' time, I plan to contest for presidency or any political post. My opponent will use that as a yardstick by digging them up and say, oh, once upon a time he was paraded by the police, he was a cultist, he was this, and they won't, that's what they will see, because the media paraded me, the police force paraded me, and they condemned me in the front of the society, but when I was pronounced not guilty, they were not there. So I think parading of suspects is 100% wrong.
What are the negative effects of parading a suspect? Not yet charged to court nor convicted, especially in cases where the suspect is eventually discharged and acquitted by the court.
I think once you feel your rights is being trampled upon by the police force, I think the best thing you need to do is to sue them. As simple as that. Sue them by doing it at the appropriate way, by going to the court of law, lay your complaints, press charges on them. Definitely, once you have your facts right and you have your papers right, you will definitely win the case.
All efforts to reach the Nigerian police proved abortive. Though we spoke to the public relations officer of the Rivers State Police Command off record, he explained that he would need authorization to speak on the matter, referred us to the public relations officer of the police headquarters, and we also reached him via WhatsApp and telephone, but he also declined speaking on the matter. What is the permanent solution to this age-long menace? What roles does the government and civil society groups have to play in this? Think of this for a minute, how degrading it is for someone who truly is innocent of the crime they are accused of and is eventually acquitted after having your face all over media houses being labeled as a criminal. The painful part is the press might not be there to report their innocence on the day the court discharges them. By then, the damage has already been done to their image and might be irreparable. Even in cases where people demand for monetary compensation from the police by filing a suit against human rights abuse, it will never still delete the images in people's head and the fact that when their name is Googled on the internet, this would suffice a scene where they are being paraded by the police. The National Assembly needs to wake up to this and enact an act which would eventually be amended into the Constitution to be a part of the law. written in black and white, that parading of suspects violates human rights. Only then, truly, would it be a law.
I think maybe what we should do in Nigeria is to constitutionalize it, make it a constitutional issue. Like you said, the police commissioner was arguing that there is nowhere in the constitution that is written. So we are going to call on the National Assembly members to make it a constitutional, constitutionalize it, provide it in the constitution to say section so, because anywhere you put it, any of the law you put it, or the policemen may still not see it quickly, or people may not quickly see it. Okay, since they want it that way, maybe under the fundamental rights, in the Nigerian Constitution, section 34, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 43, freedom of life, freedom of movement, freedom of worship, and all that, up to section 44, so 43 or 44. So maybe one of the sections should, and I add that it is now a criminal offense to parade, it is unlawful to parade suspects. Maybe that's the way we should go. Make it constitutional and also put it in several of our status book, criminal law book. But they're already there, like I said.
You can now see with me why we decided to talk about this matter today. It's still Factual Chat with Debby, and we have looked at this matter. You have heard their points. You've heard the points of the NBA, the points, of course, of the victims, and of course, people, different opinions on this matter. I would like to quote the lawyer, OC Higherking. I think it's high time the National Assembly take this into consideration. It is time it is amended into the Constitution, perhaps under the section that provides, that spells out the rights of every citizen. I'm talking about fundamental human rights, which is, of course, the section 34 of the Constitution. If we have that enshrined, it'll be nice to have, maybe as a subsection under that fundamental human rights, we have stipulated in red and black that the police should not parade suspected criminals anymore. That way, maybe it would now be a law, and then there will not be excuses again from the police why they do this. It's been Deborah Balama, and this is Factual Chat with Debby. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.